Hey everybody, it's Zach. Welcome back to the Heroverse. And guys, I just got done with All American Season 5, Episode 12, called The Lost One. Guys, this is, of course, was the episode. This is the funeral episode, of course, for Billy. I still can't get over the fact that Billy is no longer, alive in the show. It's still crazy to me that they killed off that character. I still can't get over that. That and also Jamie being pregnant were two of the biggest bombs of that episode, if not, the biggest one was Billy, of course, dying. And, in this episode, the first thing I want to get out of the way in this episode is that Jabari is alive. We pretty much got that answer right away at the beginning of the episode. Well, everybody is, making something to say at the funeral for Billy. Of course, Olivia is trying to make her eulogy on trying to figure out, what she wants to say about their father. And we really see where everybody's headspace is at. Everybody's really helping out Laura. And of course, we have Olivia and Jordan pretty much being there for one another. We have Jordan literally sleeping on the floor in Olivia's bedroom, because he wants to be by her and she wants to be by him. Mainly, I was like, okay, he probably really needs to be by her because of her history with addiction. So he probably thought, if anything, I really need to be by my sister right now. And, and also on top of, them wanting to be there for one another. And I was like, okay, that makes sense because, if anything, he really wants to be there for her and they probably want to be there for each other. But it makes sense that he would be there, just really wanting to look over her in the time of, of their father's passing. And of course, the people that are helping out Laura right now are Denise, Grace, Spencer, and pretty much, Layla and who else? Patience, Coop. Everybody is really kind of, having their hand and helping Laura out, especially, putting together the funeral and everything. And as everybody, kind of expects, everybody kind of expects that the funeral wouldn't be until probably like a couple of weeks, especially so all of Billy's friends can come in, whether it be his past classmates or whether it be people he's, played with in the NFL. All the characters kind of gathered like, okay, it's going to be a while for all of us, we're going to have some time to put this all together. But and already, as we saw in the promo for this week's episode, Laura wants more, does not want a big funeral. She wants to not share Billy anymore. She's like, I shared Billy with with his teammates. I've shared Billy with football. I'm done sharing him. This funeral is going to be tomorrow, and it's only going to be close friends and family only. And right away, you kind of have everybody's headspace is kind of like, oh well, they want to say something, but in reality, they know they really can't. And they kind of, they might have their gripes with it, but they're kind of like, okay, like this is what Laura wants. We have to respect it because it was her husband. We just got to respect that. And in a way, it was crazy to me because one, Asher, weirdly enough, was kind of, we pretty much didn't see him for majority of the episode. He kind of was like at his own, at the beach house, which I thought was really weird in general, that Asher went straight to Jamie and didn't go, even though he kind of had like his, kind of like he, in a way, is kind of like thinking to himself, like, I could have died then. You know what I mean? And I had things unsaid, so I wanted to go straight to Jamie, and he would probably want to go straight to Jamie and tell her like I'm in. You know what I mean? Like, let's do this. But in reality, I thought it was really weird if you found out that Billy died, wouldn't you want to go with Jordan and Grace to break that news? How can you think about going straight to go to Jamie? I was like, I still couldn't understand that, even though it made sense. I still was like, that's just so weird to me, because in the process of him going back home, I thought everything was okay until Grace and Jordan walked in. I saw their faces like, oh my god, like he's dead. Why would Asher go there and not go with them? So we didn't really see Asher and until like kind of like in the middle of the episode. And even then, we know JJ went to go check up on Asher while everybody's kind of being together. JJ went to go check up on Asher, and I feel like in a way JJ is kind of the like, yeah, Asher forgave JJ, and I feel like that's the only kind of I feel like that's the only thing that feels normal is JJ being up. Like, I feel like the group is like him becoming part of the group. JJ, I feel like is slowly, gradually starting to happen again. But as of right now, it's weirdly like it only feels like JJ is talking to Asher and really hasn't made his way with the group yet. But he kind of tests that out in this episode, and I feel like, with what he does, kind of, sets things off in a weird way. But, we don't see Jamie at all in this episode, which was crazy to me, too, that we don't see Jamie. But the biggest thing of this episode, while I was worried about everybody, I slowly started to unworry about everybody, because I feel like Olivia, with Spencer being there for Olivia, and not just being there for Olivia, but being there for everybody, helping out Laura, that kind of helped her out. And, him trying to help, Olivia out, trying to write her, eulogy for her father. She's like, I can't even I don't want to say that, my father, was, or my father, or is, or was. And she's like, okay, then why don't you, he's like, why, if you can't talk about him in the past tense, like he's not here anymore, say your father is. And helped her kind of guide her to make her eulogy, but also so that way she can write it, because that's the only way. Say don't talk about him like how he was, talk about that on who Billy is. You know what I mean? Say how say what your father meant to you. Say it like that. Don't, if you can't say him in the past tense, say how he is. And that was really, really nice, of course, Spencer, for being there for Olivia. And I feel like that's why I wasn't really worried about Olivia as much. It was in the beginning of, Jordan being in her bedroom and staying next to her. I was like, okay, I'm a little worried about Olivia. But, it didn't, the person I was really mainly worried about in this episode, of course, was Spencer, because Spencer was not letting himself grieve. He just kept moving and kept trying to be there for everybody else and try to be that hero that he usually is. And of course, Laura, I would say that everybody was taking it the hardest, because of course Billy was her husband, and she's taking it the hardest, and she can't grasp the fact of Billy being gone. Not only that, but she can't grasp the fact of, Billy pretty much, sacrificing his life to save Jabari. And pretty much, in the beginning of the episode, Jabari wants to go in to pretty much, give his condolences and say how sorry he is, but he knows that he can't come in because, everybody's kind of telling him, he wants to steer clear. In a way, he's kind of, getting the vibes, I bet no one's gonna, he's really the only one telling himself to stand clear, because he feels guilty, the fact that Billy kind of, sacrificed himself to save him, you know what I mean? And in reality, I kept thinking to myself, where, Billy sacrificed himself to save Jabari. I kept thinking to myself, I still can't get over, how did Billy end up not seeing Jabari if he was even knocked out on the bus when he was getting everybody off? I found that so weird, because it was a short bus. It was short, and it was daylight. How did you not see a grown ass person knocked out probably on the bus? How did you miss that? You know what I mean? It's you had a head count. You're the coach. How did you not? I mean, probably adrenaline took over, and you wanted to get as many people as off as possible. But I don't understand how he did not know until the last minute, when it was already kind of to the point where the bus was sliding, that Jabari was still on the bus. I still can't get over that. I found just crazy to me, that I feel like in a situation like that, how do you not see someone when you're getting everybody off of a bus? So it kind of throws me off. I feel like it was kind of a weird way to kind of make Billy get back on the bus and stuff like that. I was like, okay, I just feel like in a way they needed a reason to take the character Billy off the show, and that's the reason that they chose. But I feel like in a way it made no sense to me, because I feel like it's so unpractical to not see somebody when you're getting everybody off. So I had a very hard time, accepting that storyline that they put in, because I felt like it just didn't make any sense. But I was really happy that, Jabari kind of did that, but Jabari's kind of feeling guilty for the fact of Billy sacrificing himself, and Laura really, in a way, kind of in her grief, blames Jabari, on top of her wanting just a close friends and family funeral, on top of her having a hard time, coping with the fact of, he is gone. And, you know what I mean? She just has, she's angry in this episode, and we really see that, whether it be Spencer going to get Billy's favorite food for after the funeral, and she ordered she ordered sweet potatoes, but it was mashed potatoes, and she was upset about that, and Spencer's like, I can go back, and she's like, and she just kept flashing back to there is no going back, I can't go back, you saying you can go back. It's his grief was taking her to the point where she was just angry at everybody. And really mainly angry at Jabari when Jabari came in, wanting to give, really, he finally had the courage to go to say sorry and give his condolences to, everybody, you know what I mean, about Billy sacrificing himself to save him. She just said, what's Jabari doing here? And that kind of set it off to the point where, Jabari ended up leaving. And what's crazy is, Grandpa Willie came back in this episode. Chris and Darnell did not come in this episode. I was a little shocked about that, but I guess it kind of made sense that I guess they wouldn't show up. I was really hoping everybody would show up, regardless of how much they knew Billy or not. I mean, they knew him in some shape or form, so it was kind of like, I was like, or some way or fashion. So I was like, I was like, it's weird that they're not here. It was really weird, and the thing I'm not going to be able to forgive the writers about is that the fact of Simone wasn't in this episode, and I thought that was really weird that Simone never got a call at the end of last week's episode about Billy passing. I thought that was very odd, and I still can't forgive the writers on whether they're the same writers for both shows or maybe they're different writers. I was like, that just doesn't make sense to me that Simone just won't know. And as we all know, in the next step or in yesterday's episode of All American Homecoming, Simone ends up going to was it a masquerade ball dance, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm not excited for that episode, to review that episode tomorrow, because I could care less about that episode, because you're telling me that you skipped out on giving Simone character development after the whole argument and maybe like fixing things with Layla, and Layla reaching out to Simone saying, I know that you don't want to be friends with me anymore, but I know you and Jordan are friends and he needs you here right now, and her saying why, and then Layla saying because Billy passed, Jordan needs you. I feel like they could have been great character development there, and it could have mended the fences between Layla and Simone, because they both care about Jordan. That's something they can agree on. So I find it very cheap to me that the writers would instead want to make Simone as a character go do the masquerade ball dance instead of giving her character development to mend the fences with Layla, but also kind of be there for Jordan, because they did date. They weren't married at one point. So it's like I don't like that. I find it stupid, and I'm just not excited for tomorrow for me to watch the newest episode of All American Homecoming tomorrow. I'm just not excited for it, and that's the biggest thing. The biggest anger I had about this episode was that. But going on to, I'm going to talk about about Patience real quick. Patience and Patience pretty much being texted the entire time by the new character. I think her name was I think it's Miko, if I'm correct. The new character Miko, that's apparently a fan of Patience. I knew right away when Patience pretty much was describing fans of, like, yeah, they're fans are all cute and cuddly from a distance, but when you let them in and then that's when they start to get all crazy, and and I just that's one of my rules, is that I won't date fans. And she kind of opened up that kind of Pandora's box when with the whole her kind of with the whole kind of everybody shit, like everybody kind of making her sound like pretty much shaming her and stuff like that, kind of about her appearances and stuff, about like how like people on the internet were kind of like shaming Patience for the way she looks and stuff like that, or the way she's not like, the way like if she's not like pretty much making it sound like she's not photogenic and all that stuff like that, and pretty much making fun of her online, and kind of opened up the gateway of one fan giving her compliments, and that kind of opened up Pandora's box, where she was kind of in a way flirting back with the fan and kind of doing the one rule that she said she wouldn't do. Miko was texting Patience this entire time in this episode and was giving off crazy vibes by the end of the episode, and then Patience had to unfollow Miko because of that one reason, of her being so obsessively texting her and joking around saying, oh, I hope you're working on that next album, JK, or whatever. Oh, I see that you're ghosting me. Shake my head. You know what I mean? I think it was whatever the whole. I think it's H. Shake my head. I think it's H. I don't know. I don't know what the things were for it, but like, oh, shake my head. So I'm a little worried about that. I feel like by the end of this episode, I was really worried about Patience on where that's gonna go, because as we all know, we already dealt with a crazy person before with Carrie. I'm a little bit worried that this might be even worse than that, so I'm a little bit worried. I don't think that character Miko is gonna go anywhere. I think things are about to get a lot worse. So I'm a little bit worried about that going forward with All American in episode. I don't know if we're gonna get anything between them in episode 13. Who knows? But going out with also pretty much like I said, Spencer and what he's dealing with and how he's not grieving. He wants to keep moving. He wants to be there for everybody, because he's that type of dude where he wants to be everybody's support system, but he's not giving himself a time to grieve. And the only reason that he's not really doing that, and he's having a hard time doing that, is because he feels like if I don't keep moving, I'm gonna grieve, and I'm gonna keep thinking about how I hung up the phone on Billy and I didn't answer his phone call before he died. And that's one thing I can never get back, because I can't go back and get that back, because time moves forward. And I loved that Dylan was there for Spencer throughout this entire episode, pretty much saying, I know you, Spencer, because Spencer went back to his old house, and Dylan's like, I knew you would come here because this is the one place that you can think. And you know what I mean? I know that you're there for Laura, you're there for Jordan and Olivia, and you know what I mean, you're doing all this, all this funeral stuff, getting the funeral ready for them and being there for them. But someone needs to be there for you, and I want to be there for you, like you've been there for everybody else. So it was really Dylan was the G for that. Dylan was really, the support system for Spencer in this episode, especially getting Spencer to, acknowledge the fact that if I don't keep moving, I'm gonna I'm gonna keep rethinking of that moment in my head where I made the mistake of not answering Coach's phone call and forgiving him because I was upset, and you know what I mean. And before he died, like I'm never gonna get that moment back to talk to him. And pretty much, I feel like in a way Spencer is still going to be grieving going forward, especially from like the sneak peek. It looks like he's just going back into football, really trying to put all of his, grief about, Coach into football. And also not only that, but like it looks like he's also going to be putting it in, being there for Olivia. Like it feels like, he's also trying to be a support system for Olivia, but also he's trying to, also kind of trying to, push himself to the point with football and distract himself. But also, I think it was my bro, Malachi. I think he said that, Spencer, while he's trying to be there, like his theory was, while Spencer's trying to be there for, Olivia, and also Spencer trying to be there, trying to, put, all of his focus, doing, football and stuff, he might get burned out. And it might become to the point where, like, Olivia might be addicted not only to, having Spencer to make her feel, okay, but also kind of burn out Spencer in a way. I think that's my like take on that is, it's gonna like burn out Spencer, not putting all of his, just trying to get distracted by being on the field and putting in all the work, but also kind of like, be there for Olivia and make her feel like okay. And she might, in a way, Olivia could possibly, get addicted to the fact of her, Spencer being there, and making her feel better. I mean, she might have, in a way, an addiction to Spencer. I feel like that's also a good theory because it's like I could see that happening. But also, by the end of this episode, Olivia ends up going into Billy's drawer and ends up finding a bottle. And that's pretty much how this episode ends, which I'm really, like I said, I'm really concerned about that because, while she is opening back up Pandora's box and her addiction to drinking, earlier in the episode, she yelled at JJ. And that's what I'm talking about where, like, JJ's kind of slowly, gradually being a part of the group again, which is crazy because he said he was okay with Jordan and Spencer said they were okay with him. But in reality, I feel like, Asher, it only feels like JJ's around when Asher's around. And JJ, I feel like really hasn't fit back in, to his place in the into the vortex like he used to anymore. So I feel like in a way, maybe about Olivia kind of bitching out JJ, saying like I can't believe that because JJ said the reason that he like showed up late to the kind of after the funeral, I forget what the hell that's called, after a funeral when you're eating and you're with everybody, but he showed up late to that because apparently he said that he had to drop Asher off at an appointment or whatever and had to do something, but he was making up like lies because no one knows about knows about Jamie being pregnant and Asher becoming a father. So he had to kind of make up a lie, and she's like, I can smell that you've been drinking on all days. How could you be drinking right now, JJ? And then she said, just get out, just get out, JJ. And then of course Layla ends up coming around and pretty much saying, when overhears like the argument of Olivia yelling at JJ about him drinking, and pretty much Layla ends up calling JJ, saying like, oh, you're a piece of trash, friend, or whatever. You're a piece of trash, JJ. And that was messed up. Like I felt in a way like Olivia's kind of a hypocrite, because I was like, if anything, that's JJ's way of grieving. And I mean, Olivia clearly knows that in a way, whether JJ wants to admit it or not, like has an addiction. And you calling him, like, telling him to get out and saying, like, and pretty much, making him feel bad, even though he's grieving in his own way, like you're grieving, is only going to make JJ spiral more. And to have freaking Layla call him a piece of trash for that, and then JJ not even show up to, the big get-together that Jordan and everybody in the Vortex and everybody in the community, or everybody in the Vortex does for Billy at Billy Baker Field, for everybody in the community so everybody else could grieve. JJ ended up, showing up but not going in to sit with everybody and celebrate Billy with everybody. because, Layla called him a piece of trash friend, and, Olivia yelled at him and stuff like that and told him to leave. When, it's like, you know what I mean? How many times could, someone, JJ, in a way, like, how many times could someone be crying out for help like JJ was, and JJ now being friends with Asher again, and now you're kind of kicking him out, but you guys are doing it this time. You know what I mean? Like, Olivia, especially from a ex-addict like Olivia, she shouldn't be saying that. She should be like, oh, like, you know what I mean? JJ, you shouldn't be doing that, but, you know what I mean? I like, you know what I mean? But I could be here for you or whatever, you know what I mean? But in a way, she was in no state, Olivia, to want to be there for JJ, because she just lost her father. So it's like, in a way, it's a hard situation, but I felt like of her as an ex-addict, I felt like she should not have told JJ to get out. I felt like, I felt like she needed to be more like, okay, JJ, like, you know what I mean, drinking isn't the way, but I want to be here for you. Like, why don't you be here, you know what I mean, and let's talk this out. Like, let's talk. What's going on? You know what I mean, maybe we should talk. That haven't really annoyed me. And the fact that I'm worried more about JJ at the end of this episode, about him pushing away again, I have a feeling that worse things could happen with JJ now because of the events of what just happened. About JJ feeling like, oh, I'm back in the group because me and Asher are cool. Turns out, and no, you know what I mean? You're not back in the group because, for someone that acknowledged that you kind of might have a drinking problem and you thought wouldn't judge you, ended up judging you and ended up telling you to get out. So it's like, I'm really worried about JJ, and I still am wondering why the writers gave JJ a drinking addiction. They're not explaining why they gave that JJ has a drinking addiction. They're not explaining why JJ acts the way he acts and what's going on with him. And it really annoys me, and I find it weird that they're taking that this long to try to let us know why our character is acting like that. And I feel like, to me, they just did that in a way, I feel like, just to do that because they didn't know what to do with that character, which is really upsetting to me. That why aren't you guys acknowledging why you wrote the character like that, a character that never used to be like that? I want an explanation why. I feel like if you were going to give him this addiction, tell us why he has this addiction. You know what I mean? I don't understand that. And I don't understand why, because even more now, Olivia sounds like a hypocrite in the fact that she got pulled out a cup and a bottle, and she's going to go spiral. And I feel like the sneak peek also, when it started out on the Ferris wheel for episode 13, I feel like that's kind of a symbol that Olivia is going to spiral, start drinking again, start in a way feeling addicted to Spencer being there for her, and feeling like I'm only okay, and she'll kind of realize that, oh, I'm only okay when Spencer's around, and I feel like that's going to burn out Spencer, kind of me giving on my own take on what Malachi said, and I feel like that could maybe injure Spencer again, or, you know what I mean, or that could really ruin Spencer and Olivia ever getting back together, you know what I mean, so it's like, things are going to get a lot worse because of, not only, with, JJ wanting to be a part of the group, and even, but that could, like, really make that part could really make the group fall apart by what they did to JJ, on top of, what's going on with Olivia now, on top of, really in a way, like, I'm a little worried about Jordan, I mean, going into next week's episode as well, because, yeah, Jordan kind of was upset at the beginning of this episode, and seeing everybody, eating cake and pretty much, laughing, Grandpa Willie's like, I know that must feel weird that, like, everybody's laughing and stuff, but that doesn't mean that they're, moving on quickly. That means that they're celebrating him. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? That's how some people, greet, like, that's how some people, they're in the process of healing. You know what I mean? That, that they're gonna, like, have moments of laughter when they're thinking about Billy and stuff like that. So it's all good. You know what I mean? Like, to see people smiling at you know what I mean, after a funeral and sharing stories, it's okay. But Jordan's like, I'm not okay with this. I gotta leave. Like, Layla makes an excuse so he can leave, and he ends up going back to Billy's office at South Crenshaw, and pretty much that's when he calls Jabari, because, Jordan ends up finding out that Jabari ended up leaving when Jabari showed up to go tell, Laura that he was sorry. He felt like he felt like he needed to call Jabari to say it wasn't his fault, because he knew that, by, Laura being upset that Jabari showed up, that, that would make him feel like even more that it was his fault what happened to Billy. So it was really growing up of Jordan, and that's some character development, to have Jordan call Jabari saying, look, it wasn't your fault, man. You know what I mean? Like, so don't say that. Don't say, like, it was your fault, because, my dad would have done that for anybody else. He would have done that for any of his other players, and he would have done it for anybody. So just don't feel bad. That was not your fault what happened. And the fact of it is, when Jabari's like, the last thing your father told me is that he was staying at South Crenshaw, and he wanted to get everybody together at Billy Baker Field to tell everybody that he wasn't just for, just wasn't a coach to everybody at South Crenshaw, just isn't going to be the principal for everybody at South Crenshaw, but he is for the community, and he wanted to tell everybody that, he's here for the long haul. And that's when Jordan's like, oh my God, like, I've gotten all wrong, you know what I mean? I shouldn't have been angry at everybody celebrating my father. That's what my father would have wanted. I should really give out the last message that my father wanted to give out. I should share that message with everybody at South Crenshaw, letting everybody know that he cared just as much about them as they did about him, and just as much as everybody did, you know what I mean? And like, this is one thing that we could be celebrating about my father, is that celebrating his message that he wanted to do before he died, that he never got to share. So I thought it was really awesome that Jordan, like, realized, okay, like, it's okay to celebrate in a time of grief. So I thought that was beautiful, and to have everybody come together at Billy Baker Field, especially having Frosto come back, that was really cool. I thought it was weird that I was like, Frosto came back, but no one else came back. I was like, that's a little weird. I expected at least, like, no, I don't know if Darnell to come back at least. Chris, maybe not, but Darnell, yes. I expected at least Darnell. So I was a little annoyed by that, but I was like, okay, I guess it is what it is. But I don't know. Overall, like I said, like, it just, my biggest disappointment was Simone not showing up, and also Olivia being a hypocrite, yelling at JJ when she knows that JJ is an addict, whether he wants to admit it or not. And then she ends up doing the same thing that she yelled at him about. See what I'm saying? It's like he dealt the grief in a way that he probably shouldn't have. And you know that, being an ex-addict, but you shouldn't have judged him for it. You should have been there for him. But yet, you're grieving in the same way he did. But I bet you he wouldn't judge you. He would have been there for you. You see what I'm saying? It's like, I just find that really messed up. And I really feel bad for JJ, because it feels like everybody kicks him while he's down. And I feel like JJ's been there for everybody, and the fact that just everybody has not been there for him. And the worst part is that Layla is the one, and I forget, like, at some point earlier in the season, when she told Jordan, or told Asher, I can't remember who it was, I think it was Jordan. I think it was the episode where, like, Layla knew something that was up about JJ, and pretty much, told Jordan, you know what I mean, like, you should, make sure that you're there for him, or make sure that, make sure that you're there for him or whatever, because I know when someone's going through something, I know that when someone's going, like, depressed and stuff like that, I know that, to just keep an eye out for him. And then, of course, that's when JJ said all the rude shit, saying, Layla's jumping around the vortex or whatever, am I next, that rude shit that he said. But it's like, that really upset me, because, like, Layla even knew that something was going on with JJ, but yet it's like she forgot about that and just was saying, you're a trash friend, JJ. When it's like, they should have both been there for him. If he's drinking, and Olivia knows that he might be an addict, and she should have some sympathy. I know it's like Olivia wasn't thinking like that because her father just passed, and she figured, like, everybody should be here for me. I shouldn't have to be there for you, JJ. She might have had that vibe because she was just so upset. But I just felt like I was really disappointed. I was like, wow. Especially at the end, I was like, that's just so hypocritical. I was like, damn, that's like, you're a hypocrite at this point because of what you're doing. You yelled at him for drinking, by his way of grieving, but you're doing the same thing. So I was like, it was really messed up to me. But overall, I mean, it was a beautiful, it was beautiful at the end, of course, where, like, Laura actually ended up showing up too. And pretty much, because she, like, Jordan had to, and everybody had to lie to Laura about them all, like, going to celebrate Billy at Billy Baker Field. Like, they all had to lie because they were afraid that she would shut it down and be angry at everybody if she would have found out. So when she showed up and said, I'm glad everybody, I'm glad you guys turned my grief into, turned my grief into a celebration, or I'm glad, you turned, like my grief that I had into a celebration of Billy. So that was really beautiful when she said, when she said that. I was like, okay, that's some poetic shit right there, that, you guys, turned, grief into a celebration, which was, like, because, that in a way, like, that's the best, like, that's the part, you know what I mean? It's like celebrating the spirits and who the person was, you know what I mean? When you go to a funeral. Yeah, it's grieving, but also grieving can be multiple things. It could be also, you could, like, have moments of, like, sharing stories and laughing about the stories that you share, and just, you know what I mean? You should really just never, like, keep it in, you know what I mean? You should be able to laugh. You should be able to cry. You should be able to to, you should be able to laugh and cry when it comes to, a funeral and stuff. Just because they're not there physically does not mean that they're not there in spirit. And I feel like that really was, like, just beautiful, that, like, kind of, Laura got it, saying, what I mean, I shouldn't have just, been, just, not thinking, like, just, I shouldn't have just been, like, upset about this in a way. I should be, like, turn it into a celebration of who Billy was. You know what I mean? I shouldn't have just wanted to keep Billy to myself when I knew that he was for everybody, and we should be celebrating him. We should not be celebrating him. So I just thought that was really, like, beautiful on Laura's behalf, that she kind of realized what she did was wrong. She's like, we should be celebrating him. We shouldn't just be I shouldn't just be keeping him to myself. So I don't know. I'm a little worried going into the next episode because where everybody's at right now. But I am excited to see, like, what this is gonna do to everybody going forward. Especially, I'm mainly worried about Patience. That scares me with the whole Miko girl kind of being all weird. I'm a little bit worried that because that's one Pandora's box you really should not be opening, and she opened it. So it's like, I don't know. So I'm really curious to know, guys, what did you guys think about this episode? Did you guys like this episode? Did you guys, like, not like some things about this episode? Are you guys, let me know your theories on going forward in the season. Weirdly enough, I won't be able to put up next week's promo in the community tab because I can't even find the promo online. I can't even, like, find it. And I recorded yesterday's episode and I watched it today. And even then, I couldn't even, or no, I didn't record tonight's episode, but, like, I did record tonight's episode, but, like, I was watching it on DVR, and I guess, it was a little bit ahead, so by the time I got done on DVR with it, it cut off the ending of the promo of episode 13, so I don't even know exactly how that ended with Jordan fighting whoever he was fighting at, at GAU. I have no clue, like, who he was, like, fighting, but it looks insane. It looks like Jordan's kind of going off a little bit. So I don't know. Shit's about to get crazy going forward. All I'm gonna say is I'm locked in for the rest of the season. I'm invested for the rest of the season because we have a couple of different things going on right now. I feel like the season kind of, like, I feel like it's cut to say, but I feel like this is what the season needed to kind of, excite me again for the show. Because I gotta say, I'm getting really, like, upset with the show lately and really, like, bored of the show lately. So I feel like, in a way, this was what the show needed to spice things up and get people invested again. Because if this didn't happen, I have a feeling this would have probably been it. This season would have probably been it for me. Because I haven't been really rocking with this season. But I know we got confirmed for a season 6. I'm still hoping season 6 is the last season. I think 7 was really pushing it. Especially for, like, a CW show, especially a show that really hasn't been doing much football, considered it's called All-American. So, I don't know. I'm still kind of hoping season 6 is it. I'm really hoping they end the season strong, which I think that they will, especially after the events of last week's episode. I feel like it can't go anywhere but up, honestly, with all the crazy shit going now with our characters. Like, these are, like, character-changing moments for our characters where, like, shit's gonna get crazy going forward. So I'm excited to see where everybody's headspace is at going into episode 13. But I want to know what your thoughts are on this episode. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Let me know what your theories are going forward for the rest of the season. Let me know. Do you guys want a season 7 after season 6? Excuse me. I'm really curious to know. Did you want a season 7, or do you think it should be ending at season 6? Also, I think the real Spencer in real life, I think his name is Spencer Pasinger, if I'm correct. He was actually in the shot where everybody was gathering together at South Crenshaw in the hallways. I think he was right behind Frosto. So he actually showed up, the dude. So I thought that was really cool too. I don't know if anybody noticed him, but I noticed him. But yeah, guys, like I said, this was a really sad but good episode, besides my two gripes I had about Olivia being rude to JJ and being a hypocrite by the end of the episode, and also, Simone not being in this episode. That was the thing that really pissed me off. I was like, really? The most, like, if anybody should be there for Jordan, I was like, Simone really should be there. I was like, how is she not here? That's crazy to me. They're at least friends. You know what I mean? It's like, at least after that, she should know. So, I mean, then again, she might know in in tonight's episode, but I won't be watching tonight's episode of All American Homecoming until tomorrow. So honestly, I won't know. But even then, I'll find it weird if it's like if I find it too late if she'll find out at the end of tonight's episode about Billy being gone. I'll find it like they did it too late. She should have been there for the funeral, not going to a ballroom dance. You know what I mean? That's so dumb to me. But guys, yet again, if you're new to the channel, subscribe to the channel, put in notifications, like this video. I'd love to have you guys here, a part of the fam, a part of the channel. We're all about spreading love, positivity, and motivation here on the channel. And guys, we're almost to 700 subscribers. That is the goal, to get to 700 subscribers. My initial goal is to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of this year, and I know I can do it with your help. But guys, yet again, that was the video. I hope everybody has a great day, a safe day. Also, before I say, see you next time, we won't be getting the next episode of All American until the 13th, I think, of, I want to say March. So we have a while until the next episode of All American. I'm pretty sure that probably means Homecoming as well. I'm assuming that we won't see the next episode for All American Homecoming until the 13th as well. But I won't know that until tomorrow. But yeah, guys, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.